Hey everyone, this is going to be starting from about partway in. As you can see, I'm currently in Central Park, and I can't exactly remember which street he comes in on, but right now, this is about, right over there is 5th Avenue, where he comes in on, and 63rd Street. And I believe it's 63rd and 5th. If it's 59th and 5th, he starts in the corner over there by those buildings, right there. But I'm going to start a little far in, partially because it's getting dark, partially because I don't have a way to check right now. In front of you, you see Central Park Zoo. My theory is that if he comes from this direction, entering the park over there, he comes in, there's the zoo. Over there in the distance, I don't know if you can see it, it's a little dark so I can't see it on my screen. That's the dairy, right about there. And there's the statue of Shakespeare in the park. So my theory is, to prevent him from running back and forth as much as he probably does, if he were to take this the normal way, is that he comes in from somewhere over here and makes a straight shot where he passes everything but doesn't necessarily visit it, which I think is an important aspect of this route. Otherwise, it just Jonathan Larson being insane and crazy. So like I said, there's Shakespeare, there's the dairy. I'm going to try to walk the entire route the way that he might have walked it. If he did, in fact, come from the corner, he would come up this road right here, and he would pass the zoo and the dairy right there. At the dairy, there's a payphone. I don't know if there are any other payphones on this route, but I believe it's near the dairy that he uses the payphone. So my assumption is that it's the payphone outside the dairy. I'm gonna wait for this carriage to come by. Okay, so up ahead, over there in the distance by the corner, is the carousel. I don't think he actually goes too far by it, and unfortunately, as you can probably tell by the sun, and the time of day, and this is the actual day, 23 years later, it would have been closed then as well, so there's not too much to show you there. But this right here is the sheep meadow, and as you can see by the people walking in front of it, I'm very skeptical of how Jonathan hopped the fence, but if he says he did, he did. It's a fairly big meadow, also closed, unless it was snowy, in which case it would be open for skiing, but assuming that he had to hop the fence, I'm assuming today is pretty much the same type of day that he had. So I'm going to cross the road here. Oh, wait. No, I'll cross the road here. So most of the things are actually right next to each other. There's the mall that goes down there. My assumption is, if he were to in fact jump this fence, he would jump the fence, he runs into the fields, probably more so up by those rocks, but might continue onward. Oh, okay, I'm not going to get run over. Do his "my friend is dying, my friend is dead" comment, and then continue onward. And now this part's going to be maybe the longest part of the journey, because all of these things are right next to each other, and yet the Belvedere Castle and the Delacorte Theater, both of which are actually right next to each other near the center of the park, are quite a walk away. I might play some music over this so that you don't have to hear me talking the entire time, but I am going to walk the entire thing, videotaping it, just to get as close to a representation of what his journey might have been, except for, you know, hopping the fence into the sheep meadow, running into it and yelling, "My friend is dying, my friend is dead." But seeing as I don't really want to break any laws or trespass, and seeing as like all of the lawns have signs that are like closed for the season, I'm not going to do that. Oh, look, the second one I've seen today. Just a short side note. Love locks. If you haven't heard of them, look them up. It's a love lock. People swear their love, throw away the combination or the key and lock it on a fence or a bridge post. The other one was inscribed with the names of the people who locked their love in Central Park. It was actually on the other side of the sheep meadow, right over there. But this is, minus the cell phones and the modern day 23-year later technology, basically about how busy it would have been. Probably wouldn't have been a Sunday. I don't think we ever looked that up. I also highly doubt he was actually running. I mean, he might have, but this is a very long trek. And he neglects to mention in his journey the ramble, which is essentially the labyrinth of Central Park. Unless you have a map with you or know your way around it, it is very easy to get lost. I walked north to south first, so managed to find most of this before heading this way. So I should not get lost showing you guys the journey here. I have some snow set up for sledding and snowboarding and stuff. So there's a lot of interesting things he could have passed. I'm going to take one of the many journeys he could have taken. There are many paths he could have gone through, especially in the ramble, seeing as there are multiple different ways to get through that. I'm going to take the most direct, least windy way to get through the ramble. I'm also, if I can find the right direction, going to head the way I came before, and we'll go through the Bethesda Fountain, I believe that is the actual name of it, just because it's a pretty cool place, and leads us right into the ramble very easily. So I will lead us to the Bethesda Fountain. It's kind of cold today. Sun is setting, obviously. Clouds are coming in. That's good. But it's very interesting, the journey he chose. On the small, you can see right here, here's one of them. You can see there, and all down the mall and all at the end are statues of famous writers, famous people, this guy blowing bubbles, an amphitheater. There's a lot that would go on here during the summer, but, you know, when we read through and see the Why monologue, we assume Jonathan is fairly alone in the park, but there are a lot of people around, which I guess begs the question, when he does his screaming in the middle of the sheep's meadow. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. Someone called me. Well, like I was saying, there's lots of things happening, but when we read through the monologue and see it performed, it's a very internal journey that he takes, and it's actually quite surprising to realize that there are all these people around him the entire time. You know, people would be watching him when he's in the sheep meadow, and people would be seeing him rush through the park. I believe for the most part he might be running, but given the fact that it's very slippery in a lot of places, I don't think it's highly likely. I think it was more like a brisk journey, brisk, angst-filled journey of Jonathan Larson. This is one of my favorite ways to get to the fountain. I doubt he took this way. He might have. He doesn't mention it, of course. Every time I've been to the fountain, these people have been playing. And earlier today, when I was heading back, they were playing Vivaldi's Winter, third movement Largo. But they're very great musicians. So, that is a very great group of musicians. They've been there every time I've walked by. Really adds to the setting here. On a modern side note, if you're a fan of the Avengers, this is where they shot the final scene with Loki and everyone. Just thought you would know, if you're that type of person. But sorry about that again. I got called again, and I'm just not in the mood to answer it, especially when I don't know who they are. Like I was saying, hopefully I don't get interrupted again, but seeing as they called me twice, they're probably going to try calling me a third time. This is the Ramble in the distance. It is the most outdoorsy, naturey, hiking place in the entire park. It still has these wonderful tarred pathways, but it's a little bit more rocky, a little bit more natural. But there's an elm tree, a couple elm trees. But yeah, I think seeing this journey with this monologue could be very possible. It's a fairly long journey though, so if this monologue were to happen, it would be a lot more repetitive, I believe. Or if it was filmed, it would be montage, of course. Although it being filmed, I feel, would make it a little bit more superficial. They would actually want to film him running by the entrance to the zoo, the dairy itself, etc. They would have to remove all of these new Central Park signs. So it would be a lot more impossible journey. There is one way, I didn't go that way, of course, that he could have gone through the dairy by the carousel a little bit more directly, but seeing as the statue of Shakespeare was in there, it's not really a possibility. Here's the Bow Bridge, a famous bridge. Matt Smith running across and Angels Take Manhattan happened here. That is the danger of New York City. You have many tourists and people with family taking photos all the places, and you have to be careful not to photobomb any of them. I mean, photobombing is not bad, but that bridge particularly, photobombing means completely obscuring the person you're taking the photo of. So, sorry about that. But we are now in the Ramble. Fairly outdoorsy. I'm going to take maybe the longer way to get through this. Shorter might be going up there and dealing with a lot more, but I know my way through if I come this way. And I might have to splice these videos together. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. Hopefully the person calling me left a voicemail and I'll be able to tell them. I just don't recognize any of the information from their number. Neither did my phone. But it's a very beautiful journey. This is probably the most quiet part of the trek, which can make sense from Jonathan Larson's point of view of why he might take this journey. Through the ramble, in his angst and frustration and ultimate epiphany moment, earlier when I was walking, I had come from up there, northwest corner of the park, up near Harlem, and walked down from the Great Hill. Didn't really know my way through that portion of the park because I haven't been there before. Once I got to the reservoir, I knew where I was going, but it was very interesting to come from that direction because once I started hitting these monuments, I started singing "Why" in my head. I don't know if that was because this path is that type of reflectiveness or just because I had Jonathan in mind. I think it was just because I had the journey in mind, which, by the way, for those of you who are not privy to know, although hopefully those of you who have been in the production know this, tomorrow, which is February 4th, the reason why I'm taking this journey now is because it's the day that he would have had this journey if this journey did actually take place. Tomorrow is the 17th anniversary of Jonathan Larson's death, I believe. He was controversial in many ways, of course, and not everyone was a particular fan of his, but he did write some pretty influential material in Rent, and that was the way I came. Straight. So if any of you have made it this far in the journey, which, believe me, we're close. There's the Belvedere Castle in the distance, if you can see it. Yeah. Thanks to those who have watched this journey, or at least the best version of the journey I can possibly map out at the moment. And hopefully I haven't missed anything. I have the sheep's meadow, the dairy, the zoo, of course, the statue of Shakespeare, and we're about to see the Belvedere Castle and the Delacorte Theater. So we will see these final moments of the journey quite soon. As you can see, it's getting late. The lights are starting to turn on, which is technically not a good thing because now my hand is freezing and it's going to be dark soon. And I'll have to make this journey out of the park once again. But I've done it enough times that it's not going to be an issue. So we're nearing the Belvedere Castle. There are many different ways to approach it while you're in the ramble. As you can see, the ramble just kind of goes all over the place. It's a good place to get lost from the city for a while. It's the one place in the city, all over the park really, that the pace really slows down. Maybe that's why Jonathan came here. Yeah, it's a very calming place. relaxing. Definitely a break from the pace of the city. But it's just interesting to me coming here, not really being from the city, but thinking about Jonathan's writing style, particularly in Tick, Tick, Boom, where he compares himself very much so to George Seurat as imagined by Stephen Sondheim. The pure description that he gives in his journey to allow me 27 years later, not 27, sorry, 23 years later, to mix his journey date and his birth date. No. Okay. I have some explaining to do, but I mixed 2 days together. Today is not exactly 23. I mean, 17 years from his death. It's just that he died about a week ago, 17 years ago. So we're close. Actually, yes, it was a week ago. It was the 26th. So his birthday, he turned 30 in 1990, which means he would be 53 today, if you can imagine it. Jonathan Larson would be 53 had he not died when he did. But here is the lovely Belvedere Castle. This, for those of you who may not know, is where all of the weather, right over there, for Central Park is taken. The towers are very great to go up on. I will not go up there because getting up and down the very narrow staircases is a pain. From this direction, you can see the Delacorte Theater fairly well. There are no old rehearsal pianos, I've already checked. But this is a good view of the Delacorte Theater. Let me see if I can... Oh, I cannot zoom while I'm in the video, unfortunately. I'm sorry, people. But that is the inside of the theater. So performances for Shakespeare in the Park take place on this side, while everyone sits on the other side. But assuming he actually climbed up to the castle, and again, this is another reason why I believe he did not run this journey, he might have passed it and gone down this way, crossing that transverse road. But I think he came over here, came down the stairs, and made his way over to the front side of the Delacorte Theater, where he once again would have had to illegally jump the fence. Jonathan Larson, in his angst, likes to illegally enter places and trespass. But this is probably the best representation of where he has journeyed. I know that this is me rambling mostly, but hopefully, for those of you who have been in the show, who were in the show with me at Bennington, or who, like Jonathan Larson, who come across this video, hopefully I'm able to make it open and available for everyone to see on YouTube. You guys will get a chance to see the journey that he makes, even if you've never had a chance to come to New York and walk through Central Park. I discovered bits and pieces of this journey on my own time about a month and a half ago. No, about a month ago. I came to the city on the 1st, and I'm here until the 17th, doing an internship term for Bennington. But here is the theater from the outside, and the quickest way to jump the fence would be for him to jump the fence here, right by this entrance. He could have also jumped one of the fences over there, or up by the castle and came down. I feel that's less likely, but it's Jonathan Larson, and as we can tell from this particular journey that he took, he likes to trespass. So, that being said, I'm going to walk around here and show you guys the Delacorte Theater from a more front standpoint. Show you the name on it. And then I will bid you adieu and let you guys go on your way, either appreciating Jonathan Larson or getting to see Jonathan Larson's work, or just enjoying musical theater. Here's a statue of Romeo and Juliet. There's a statue of the Tempest. These are both from the back. There's also a payphone here, but of course he uses a payphone much earlier in his journey. And I'm going to go over by that Great Lawn sign, give you guys a final view, and be on my way. But before I do so, this is the more circuitous route to enter the theater. Could have trespassed this way, of course. And here is the front of the Delacorte Theater. And with that, everyone, I bid you adieu. Thank you so much for watching the video, and have a great day.